Hey everybody. So I had a reasonably good day at the clinic. Um, most of my therapies went pretty well, aside from having to wait on people, which is kind of one of the most frustrating parts about the experience here, which is the scheduling aspect of it. Um, they really, so how it works is you have however many therapies in a day that you have to do. Some of them you can't do when you're on a certain IV. Others you can when you're working with the heat, when you're working with the PEMF. So so it's a bit of a balancing act, I guess. And all the scheduling you do yourself. So you know what treatments you have in a day, and then you have to sign up or slot them into the times available. And and then if they get behind, it really throws off the schedule for the whole rest of the day, and you have to rejuggle or miss things that you are really part of the program. So, which is why some days it ends up that I'm in the clinic quite late, because like 8 or 9 at night, because I've had to rearrange different therapies. And a lot of times the delay in the schedule has to do with the people that are working there. I know they're extremely busy and they're going through a lot of growing pains right now because of the increase in popularity of the clinic after it was featured in the Truth About Cancer documentaries. Mm. But it does have an impact on the experience here because they're understaffed and training new people who don't necessarily really completely know what they're doing. And so, needless to say, it requires a lot of perseverance on my part to remind people of things, um, to know what's happening, because I've had certain situations where someone has said I could do something, and I've said I don't know that that's really the case because of this other aspect, and they're like, oh yeah, right. So I'm glad I have my wits about me, and I'm able to handle things relatively easily and not get too stressed out. But gosh, I can't imagine what it would be like for someone who um, who gets stressed very easily and has a lot of anxiety. And so um, yeah, and I mean, I think I mentioned in one of my posts that on some level, the independence and taking charge of your healing is a very beneficial aspect, and we're not encouraged to be passive about the whole experience. But at the same time, that seems to be my biggest con- um, what contributes the most to my stress being here. And if anybody out there knows that about stress and cancer, the two really are not aligned. If you're dealing with cancer or any kind of illness, one of the best things you can do for yourself is de-stress your life. So so that's one concern that I have about the clinic at the moment because of what they're going through. And the other part of it too that was a bit frustrating for me today was I had shared some of these concerns with a staff member, and um, there wasn't much response of empathy or compassion about it. More just excuses, like they're going through growing pains. It's the staff are overloaded, but it would have been nice to have a response to be I get it. I can appreciate that it's what it's like for you and how stressful it can be. So I guess that's a learning for anybody out there who's working at a center or in this sort of a capacity helping people, that sometimes the best thing you can offer them is just a compassionate ear, and appreciate and understand and just get what they're going through and not make too many excuses about it. Because I get it. I know, I understand why these things are happening. Um, I just needed to vent my frustration to someone who would really listen and appreciate the frustration and challenge about that for me. Yeah. um, yeah, and today I'm experiencing quite a bit of pain in my breast. It kind of started earlier this morning. Um, Before I even got out of bed, I sort of had my breath taken away almost by some of the pain. And I did talk to my doctor about that today, and she said that most likely, because yesterday they increased my dose of PNC 27, and she said that most likely that's the result of that increase in that medicine. Because what happens is the medicine permeates the cancer, and so then the immune system can recognize that it's cancer, and of course the immune response is inflammation around the area because it's doing its job, it's working. The immune system is working in that area. So, and when the inflammation happens, because there are blood vessels and nerves in the tumor, in and around the tumor, the pressure on those things can actually cause pain. So so that's kind of interesting to know that that's what they feel is happening in there. And I guess overall, as much as it's kind of difficult to deal with, it's a good sign that there's some stuff happening in there for me with with the medicines that I'm taking. So, and my friends aren't here yet, but I'm excited to see Larry and Barb, and hopefully I'll connect with them tonight before I get to sleep. So for now, have a great night, and thanks again for watching. So here I'm doing something called lumen photon therapy, and it's basically using light to stimulate my immune system and to promote healing in my body. And as you can see here, I've got these these light pads, which are placed. There's a long one here on my torso, and then there's another one on my back. And so I sit here and do this therapy for about 30 minutes in this really noisy room, which is a little bit much for me sometimes. But anyway, it's all good. So that's that. So this is one of the infusions that I'm getting at the moment. It's called PNC 27, and basically I get it over the course of 2 hours. So during this 2-hour time, I'm walking around everywhere with this pole. And the PNC 27 is one of the main pieces of the program here. This medicine is designed from my understanding, to break down the membrane of the cancer cells, which is often what keeps cancer undetected by the immune system in the body. And so with those membranes being permeated, then the natural killer cells in the body have a better chance of going in and destroying the cells and identifying them and then destroying them. So that's my really layman understanding of it, but you can watch videos and read a lot more about it on the Hope for Cancer website. I also receive through IV B17 or Laetrile. I get that every other day, and the off days from that I get vitamin C. And I also get something called double helix water, which happens once a week. So I'm getting a lot through through the IV, and that means I'm walking around with this pole most of the day and doing my therapies with the pole. So it gets to be a little bit complicated sometimes. And as you can see, this is where the port was installed under my collarbone there. And for the most part, it's not painful anymore. Every now and then it feels a bit tender, but it's gotten much better. I saw the other day a couple stitches that when they cleaned the bandage, because they have to do that after every heat therapy because of sweating and so on. So I was told that every 10 days they have to replace the needle, so I'm kind of not looking forward to that. Well, you caught me doing a coffee enema, which is one of the things that I have to do every day. And so basically you can see here well, it's all gone now, but this is where the coffee is and the hose. I'm not going to show you where it leads to, but that is going in my bum, and that has to stay in. The coffee has to stay in for at least 15 minutes. And then once that's done, I go to the toilet, and after that I get another infusion rectally of ozone, and that needs to stay in for 5 minutes. And so that's what I'm going to be doing in here for the next 40 minutes. So